Alrighty, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of DealBox Daily. Today, I am joined by Samuel R. Hashim. He is the CEO of Omega Power Technologies, recently rebranded from 3D Nano Batteries, and he will be walking through his offering with us today. Sam, how are you?
Jonathan, let me thank you and thank the DealBox Ventures Group as our lead investor during this Series A offering round, and the great team led by Thomas Carter, who is a dear friend, and we all know him as the digital asset and blockchain pioneer of the emerging digital security world. And I know we have a more of a traditional offering that DealBox is leading us through with their expertise and their experience guiding us through a more traditional security offering. So I really appreciate DealBox Ventures as our lead investor as we embark on this venture. Thank you so much.
No, absolutely. And it's truly a pleasure. I think it's every year we tend to see a sort of hallmark marquee offering on the platform. And that's certainly been the case with Omega Power this year. Talk to our audience a little bit about it at a high level. What is Omega Power?
Well, Omega Power basically is a research and development innovative battery company. And, it comes out of the world of nanotechnology. And my son, Daniel, Dr. Hashim, a graduate from Rice University in material science and nanoengineering, is the innovator and the creator of our core material, which is called nanosponge.
How long has nanosponge been in the market? Talk to us a little bit about the genesis of that technology and what led to its inception.
I had a very small investment group that I belonged to, and we began investing and exploring nanotechnology. Now, back in the day, in the 80s and early 90s, this was a very novel field. But then I realized I need to introduce Daniel to this nanotechnology world. And so I introduced him to nanotechnology. I introduced him to the investors who were talking about these pioneers and fathers of carbon nanotubes like Richard Smalley and Professor Palekal Ajayan. And so I introduced Daniel to these professors and to their white papers, and he absorbed it like a sponge. Incredible. Lo and behold, he cultivated his science and math and engineering in high school, and he went to a very high quality undergraduate engineering school, Rensselaer Polytech. And unbeknownst to either Daniel or I, Dr. Ajayan was one of the professors at Rensselaer Polytech. And as a freshman, Daniel met him, and Dr. Ajayan was fascinated that this young 18-year-old had learned and knew everything about carbon nanotubes and knew specifically about his role as a pioneer and a father in the field. And from that time on, and to this day, Professor Ajayan is an ongoing mentor to Dr. Hashim, to Daniel. And so this genesis of Omega Power began as 3D nano batteries, with Daniel's nanosponge as a novel creation of Daniel. And he owns the patent. Rice delivered the patents to him because of his novel creation of the first three-dimensional carbon nanotube that developed as a sponge. And he coined the phrase nanosponge because it was the very first three-dimensional material. And its first application, Jonathan, was in the oil and gas industry, he being in Houston. Shell Oil pounced on it because at the time there was the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. And Houston, of course, is very close to the Gulf. And Daniel's sponge became well known, and he became relatively famous because of the nanosponge absorbing the oil from the Gulf.
Wow.
So Shell Oil entered the picture, financed the first financing. I think it was maybe $300,000 to finance the first effort. And during that time, Daniel said to me, Dad, not for nothing. He said, I developed NanoSponge in the battery lab with Professor Ajayan. We were a battery research team. And he says, we're detoured into all of this oil and gas application and Shell financing us. He said, but why don't you purchase the battery license of NanoSponge? And I said, Daniel, it's kind of like a family thing. Is NanoSponge can be applied to everything in this world? It was applied for right. Composite materials, building materials, oil and gas. And he said, no, Dad, it was originally created for batteries, highly conductive, and it could extend battery time. Lo and behold, I purchased the license, and we have the worldwide exclusive for all battery and capacitor and supercapacitor use worldwide. And 3D nano batteries was birthed during that time. And another interesting fact about Daniel is in 2014, his novel NanoSponge became the talk of the arena, in the sense that even Forbes 30 under 30 acknowledged Daniel as one of the 30 candidates under 30 years of age with a novel breakthrough product that can transform the world. And that was in 2014. And in 2015, we created 3D nano batteries.
Absolutely.
So that's a long personal story of a really fascinating development of how this was created.
That's incredible, Sam. No, and it's very valuable for our audience to be able to get a deeper picture and the lens into the formation of the business, the technology, and the incredible team that's alongside you. Talk to us about this year, 2022. Where do you see some low-hanging fruit and some opportunities for growth? And where is there some near-term opportunities for the business this year, Sam?
Well, from a technological standpoint, Daniel and his team of researchers are working on producing a minimum viable prototype, an MVP. And some of our key OEMs, like Apple and like Samsung in the smartphone space, are waiting for those MVPs. We have ongoing relationship with those OEMs, and we're beginning to build relationships with the drone manufacturers and, of course, the very hot EV market that are very interested in our potential batteries. And I might say at this point that unlike some of our competitors, and there are so many competitors trying to build batteries, and best to all of them. This is a huge market, and there's room for all of us. But we are very familiar with this space over the last 7 years. We know the challenges of silicon battery design. We know the challenges of solid state battery design. I don't want to name the companies that are involved in these spaces, but they have tremendous challenges that we believe with our battery, NanoSponge, remaining in the liquid electrolyte space, unlike solid state, we feel that Daniel's team of manufacturers who work not in academic labs, but they're working in industrial, commercialized labs, which give us an incredible competitive advantage. We believe, and we have proven, that we can create a spooled NanoSponge product that simply replaces the graphite spool that the common everyday battery manufacturer uses. And we simply replace the graphite spool with a NanoSponge on copper spooled anode. The solid state folks have to create and spend billions of dollars to create new manufacturing processes. We just simply have to turn over our spooled product. We want to be the manufacturer's choice for the next phase of the energy power that's needed in our world today among consumer electronic products, drones, and EVs. These are our go-to markets.
But it's really interesting how you were talking about the liquid electrolyte side and the solid state side. And it's almost as if Omega is opening up this entirely new frontier for the industry to go in, whether it's on the smartphone device, the drone, or the EV. Talk to me about that transition, because when solid state came out, it became this new standard. It changed the way that we engage with the devices we use every day. This liquid electrolyte side sounds absolutely interesting. Can you dive into that for just a little bit more, Sam?
Sure. And, there have been genuine breakthroughs with the solid state design batteries. And the key reason for that is they're trying to solve what the industry knows as the dendrite problem. And dendrites are those tentacles that pierce through the anode, and once they hit the cathode side of the battery, causes the short circuits, the flame outs, and the burnouts. And this is why the industry has not been able to use the higher density lithium metal ions cycling through a battery, and they're bound to the limits of lithium ion technology, which is only at, say, 360 milliamp hours. Whereas if a company can use lithium metal, you go 100 times higher energy density into the realm of 3,800 milliamp hours. So this is why the solid state people are trying to solve the dendrite problem with solid state. Well, Daniel's nanosponge retains the dendrites. They grow much smaller, but if they do grow, they can't penetrate his nanosponge to enter into the liquid electrolyte space of the separator. So now we have incredible energy density to be made available to the drone manufacturers, the consumer electronic, and especially the EV world, without having to spend billions of dollars of new manufacturing to empower, say, a Tesla vehicle now with the ongoing liquid electrolyte batteries that they currently are using. Do you appreciate what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely, Sam. No, and I'm always thinking in terms of the net impact for the end user, the everyday person like myself. What this translates to is somewhere between a 25 to 50% increase in everyday battery life use of the devices that we use on a daily basis. Is this correct?
That's what we are saying, and that's what you're picking up on. We have a third-party battery validator that has verified to us. We used and we created 3 coin cells and 3 pouch cells that have demonstrated 40% higher energy density than our competitive silicon battery competitors, and a solid state 40 to 50% higher, and 100% energy increase to the common everyday graphite lithium ion battery.
Wow.
So this is validated, and we do have technical challenges. We want to be able to cycle lithium metal for 50 to 100 cycles. Now, we have done that, but at a low energy density.
Understood.
So the challenge we have in the lab is to get to 50 to 100 cycles at 80% energy capacity. Every battery research and development company has their particular challenges. We believe our challenges are way more doable and workable than some of the challenges of the other competitors.
And I know we didn't want to name them, but one of the bigger offerings that we've seen poking around on the public side has been from QuantumScape, and this speculative technology that's gotten a lot of investor appetite. Sam, can you talk to us a little bit about that? I know you didn't want to mention any names, but can you talk to us about how you guys at such an early stage have managed to be able to peak and pop into that top corner of performers in the space. Where do you see some differentiation for Omega Power going to 2022?
That's a great question, and we feel very strongly about our position in the market. Number one, let's use QuantumScape as an example. They went public with a SPAC on the New York Stock Exchange, and they opened at about $12 a share and went up to over $130. And they came back down to around $24, $25.
Wow.
Their valuation with a non-revenue company with non-validated technology is $14 billion. Now, I've been around the block a little bit, Jonathan. These valuations are hard to wrap your brain around.
Wow.
So what we're doing with DealBox is doing a pre-revenue IPO on the over-the-counter market.
Yes.
Where our current Series A is at 42 cents a share, which is an incredible opportunity for investors out there. And then in the middle of 2022, we're hoping to launch our S1 and be able to go public before the end of the year. I hesitate to say how the market will value our company with comparable, if not better, validated technology that QuantumScape has, but we're in a liquid electrolyte space with less of the capital intensiveness needed to commercialize our product. We could have commercial products sooner in the marketplace than QuantumScape. I hope QuantumScape is successful. I wish them well, but I also know what we have. I know what my engineers can do, and I know we can do it in a commercialized, scalable way. This is an incredible opportunity. Now, we've stayed under the radar, Jonathan, and we're going to stay under the radar. This was one of my first public presentations. I have a number of family offices that want me to do this, and I'm getting ready with DealBox to clear the way for our Series A to actually present to some of the family office contacts that I have down here in South Florida, as well as allowing DealBox to be our lead investor in this round. So there is incredible opportunity in the coming year for investors, for our technology, and I think the world is going to hear about us shortly.
To be able to see exactly the strategy behind the raise, the Series A coming in right behind the IPO, I think is just fantastic. And in these last few minutes, I'm hoping maybe you could walk our audience through the offering and what we're doing in the first quarter together on the DealBox side with Omega Power.
Okay, the seed round is complete. And what we're launching with DealBox would be the Series A round. Right. It's a Regulation D offering under the SEC guidelines. And DealBox, through the leadership of Thomas Carter, working with me and our team, will begin presentations in the first quarter of 2022 to raise $8.6 million. The minimum investment for all and only qualified accredited investors would be one unit is $42,000, would equal 100,000 shares of Omega Power Technologies. Thomas is very confident. He has a very strong network, as well as a network that I can bring to the table to some of the family offices that I'm acquainted with. And we really have great confidence that within, let's say, 4 to 6 months, we can take down this entire raise, maybe sooner. The sooner we do, I think the sooner our investors have a real high quality potential exit that can be very promising for them. I don't like throwing around numbers. That's not my field. I'm not in the investment world, but I'm told by everyone in the investment space that there's no greater time to do an IPO than now in the battery space. And let's see how the market values us and the potential that our investors can have to be able to exit. This is a great time. I would think they're holding on to their shares for maybe about a year at this 42 cents valuation. And Dealbox is telling us that, maybe we can launch at about $1 a share and then let the market take us from there. And I don't honestly know what the evaluation could be. We don't have the name recognition of QuantumScape or the backing of hundreds of millions of dollars coming in from the Volkswagens of the world and the Bill Gates of the world. We don't need any of that. We have some of the premier scientists in the world in the carbon nanotube space, in the battery world, working with us in our team and with our lab groups. And we're very confident that we can launch this IPO with strong technology and a tremendous opportunity for a rate of return for all of our investors.
That's incredible, Sam. And just as a quick teaser for everyone watching, obviously you're undergoing a rebranding from 3D Nano Batteries to Omega Power Technologies. Why Omega Power?
Well, that's a great question too. And you could tell I could talk for a long time on any of these questions, but nanotechnology and carbon nanotubes, rightfully so, has earned a bad name for themselves because single wall and double wall and multi-wall carbon nanotubes have been unable to scale on a commercial plane. And that's so important because one of the first questions, oh no, you're a carbon nanotube core technology? That can't scale. You can't commercialize that. You can't manufacture that. And you know my answers to all of that? They're 100% right. But what they don't realize is Daniel created a 3-dimensional carbon nanotube that is patented, that we have on the license, that we know can scale.
Yes.
The industry does not yet know that the 3-dimensional carbon nanotube can scale. So we did not want to be identified with the failings of the carbon nanotube world by calling ourselves 3D nano batteries. So I think our relationship with Dealbox and the marketing and investment piece that you guys are advocating and suggesting a rebranding really fits in well to our desire to rebrand ourselves. So Daniel and your team and my son Bobby, who is our chief operating officer, put their heads together and they really liked Omega Power Technologies because in Daniel's mindset, we are the final frontier of energy density. We are the Omega, the last and final frontier of battery development utilizing lithium metal, which has the highest energy density of any metal in the periodic table. And whoever can utilize lithium metal is going to have the cookies.
That's right, Sam. That's right.
So happy electrons or power electrons and make for happy investors.
Wow. There you have it, folks. Samuel Hashim of Omega Power Technologies. Thank you for joining me today. We would love to have you guys back, maybe with Dr. Daniel, their Chief Science Officer, launching their Series A shortly. Looking forward to spending more time together in the coming weeks, Sam.
Sounds great, Jonathan. I appreciate the opportunity you've given us and send my regards to Thomas and the whole team there at Dealbox. We appreciate everybody.
Absolutely. Well, Sam, stay out of the rain over in West Palm Beach. Doesn't seem like it's
another beautiful day in South Florida.
All righty, folks. Until next time, thank you very much.